Hello, Kaz.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
I'm happy that we can talk a little bit about yourself because we just met, but I really like your energy, and I just wanted to know a little bit more about your life. Um,
Okay.
could you tell me a little bit about you?
Okay, so I was born in India and raised there until I was about 7. I did some cotton picking when I was about 3 to 5 years old. And mainly I was left in a hammock on a tree while my mum worked in the farms basically. So yeah, from there on I moved to Kenya. We moved in a cargo ship, so I believe we were in the Indian Ocean for a month, and it was a rocky ride. And when we got off in Mombasa, um, it was very difficult to walk for a while because the land is kind of more sturdy than the ship was. And in Kenya, I did find that there was a lot of poverty and hunger. And me being me, I at first started giving up my lunches to give away to the other school kids. And I thought, that's not enough. Just feeding one person is not a huge kind of difference.
It's a good start.
Yes.
Let's say.
So I thought, okay, let me think of another one. And a lot of people used to grow vegetables in Kenya. So I said to the kids, how about taking different routes? Come different routes to school, and there'll be extra vegetables in these gardens, and pick it up along the way.
So, I mean, when was that?
And that was in Kenya when I was about
So
8 years old.
So you're 8 years old, and you started like organizing with the kids to say like, we'll go from this, take this route, and you take this route, I take this route, and so you can pick like food.
Yes. So they bring extra food, obviously after asking the owners to say, if there's spare, can we take some, And then we bring it to school and share it out with the rest of the children. So that meant that I was able to feed more people than just me giving up my lunch for one person, So yeah, it was very interesting, and I found it good because I knew I was helping in some way. And with that kind of a value in myself, I came to Kenya when I was 15 years old. And coming to to UK when I was 15 years old. And coming to UK, I was very oblivious to what UK was about because I had a very sheltered life coming from India and Kenya. It was all about sharing. And coming here, I started doing the similar kind of ways. I went to school for about 2.5, 3 years in this country. I couldn't speak very good English, very basic. And I remember when I first arrived here, I used to make up a sentence with 4 different languages, like Swahili, a bit of English, a bit of Gujarati, a bit of Hindi. And people are like, what's she on? But yeah, it was me trying to find my way through the unknown world as I saw it when I arrived here. But then I started work. Well, I went to school and I was working as well, working weekends in a sari shop, Saturdays and Sundays. And when it was school holidays, I worked in a factory, just to earn money and pay my way basically. I went through arranged marriage when I was 18, and 25. I left that arranged marriage with a 22-month-old baby. And so basically in 1992 I started working with job centres, working with unemployed, which was amazing because I was back into what I loved doing, helping and supporting people.
Okay.
And yeah, it was a brilliant kind of step to go into. I mean, in working in the government office, Jesus Christ, in India, that's something huge, when in India, when people say they worked in McVitie's in UK, they think it's huge. So there's me thinking, I work for the job centre, the government. This is huge. You know, I think they thought I was having a cup of tea with the Queen. You know, that's how huge they saw it to be. But it had its challenges, obviously. And I think having worked within that industry for 30 years, I came to a halt where nothing was working for me. I was trying to provide, I was trying to give service. My services were very well received, and I saw the changes that were happening in people's life right before my eyes, you know. But financially, I wasn't growing at all. Financially, when I worked with other companies, I was making them huge amount of money, you know. But when I worked for myself, I couldn't. So I think this is where I realized that I can do good, but I haven't got a heck in hell of how to make money, you know. So yeah, I was facing disability in 2002. I went through.
How come? I mean, how did you ended up like disabled?
Well,
I mean,
for one, I do believe that every emotion that we hold from childhood as a trauma is what comes out in disease. So I had a spinal disease where I had 16 to 18 discs that were leaking and some were torn. And in 2002, the doctor said I'll never, ever, ever walk again because of my spine being so degenerated.
and this is okay. You said like you said two things like, but is it from work, working too hard, like, or like lifting heavy things, or you think it's just like from like, you know, traumas from your childhood, like you had a very difficult childhood, like cotton picking, and then like, you know, going to Kenya, and then like, you know, it's really rocky.
Yeah. I do believe that there's two aspects to everything. So on a physical aspect, yes, I was working for a government organization where I was lifting 17 to 18 tons of boxes a week. I was doing that in 1993 because of a project that I took on. And in 1993, I was diagnosed with spondylitis. So on a physical level, yes, that's where it stemmed from. But to get to the healing process of it, because I do believe our bodies physically can be limitless. Because it's only our brain that sends the message to say that you're limiting yourself. It's the brain that limits us from being ourselves. So obviously getting there to the disability, I was just looking at the main problem. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't do this, you know. And yet again, I did stand up and I started working in 2004, I got back to work.
So how did you manage to heal from that?
I took on extra money from my mortgage and had some acupuncture done, Chinese acupuncture. I used to have to do that 3 times a week. They had about 200 needles in me every time, and other kind of medicines that they gave me. Once I was standing on my feet, I said to the doctor, I said, once you get me standing, the rest is up to me. And he got me standing, thankfully. And the rest was up to me. I was like, I can do this, you know. And all I had to do is kind of fade away the words of the doctors and people who said, you can't do this. And I guess when I reflect on my life, ignorance has been my bliss. Because when I left my arranged marriage, people said, you can't do this. With 1-year-old child, you have no money. I started off with a £100 pair of earrings. You know, I sold the earrings for £100 and that's what put food on our plate. But when I was doing it, I just had to kind of not taking the words that people had said, you can't do it, you can't do it.
Yes, you can.
You know, and I was like, I can. You know, these are your words. I'm not going to take them in. You know, and yes, I got back walking in 2004. I went back to work. I was working 16 to 18 hours a day, managing 2-3 offices, absolutely loving my career. But I think my spine was suffering. There were days that I had to call my team members to come and help me out of my car. So I would drive to work, park the car, and ring up the team members to say, please come and get me out, you know. And they used to help me. So I used to be in crutches on days, but I would go into work. You know, that's how much I loved doing my work. And also, I guess there is a part of me that was avoiding home because I was in a very, very abusive relationship. And that relationship that I'd got into was for the very words that were said to me, because in the Indian society it is said that if you're dark, you're ugly. So this is something that was stemmed in me from childhood. You know, even when I was 3-4, it was like you were pushed aside because of the color of your skin. And it was painful at times, you know, but then I just kind of learned to let it go over my head. But when I was feeling low in myself, all the things were inside me. I could see that I was allowing these words to think less of me, incapable of me, myself. And, you know, I came to a realization that in 2015, I was coming to fail everything. And so in 2015, I went into my healing journey, and this was getting quite prevalent that I am going to end up in a wheelchair. I had bought 2 properties, starting with nothing, but I managed to buy 2 properties in London, and I was heading towards having nothing. And I think I came to a stage in 2015, I thought, you know what? If I have my health, I can get somewhere. But here I have no health, and I'm losing everything I've worked for. I'm just gripping onto things that I haven't even got the health to enjoy with.
And so how did you manage to get like this? I mean, you look perfectly fine to me. You know, like you're standing up, you're smiling. So where the magic? What's the trick? How did you?
The trick is healing those words inside me. So I did like internal meditations where I did meditations and kind of breathing into my body and seeing where the blocks were. And all these blocks are things that people have said to me. So for instance, my mum always feared that she would find it a problem to find someone to marry me. So at the age of...
Because you had a darker skin?
That's
so
correct.
you were like a minority?
Yes.
I mean, okay.
Yes. So when I was 18, they started kind of looking for guys for me to meet and everything. And to my huge kind of alarm, it was alarming when my mom said, you know, it was said in Gujarati, but if I should translate it, it would be like, dear daughter, you know, don't have this ego that you can get a really good man, because you're really dark, and if any man should accept to marry you, he's doing you a favor, you know, and you're going to have to work hard at it. And I thought to myself, wow, okay. So I still rebelled, me being me. I used to wear my saris wrong way around or make myself look silly, that guys would say no to me, but it didn't quite work. And I did end up having to marry a guy. And well, I got my son out of that marriage, so it was meant to be. But when I went to the court I really didn't want to get married there. And someone said to me, when you go to court, they ask you individually if you are happy for this marriage. And I said, oh, yes. So that could be my break, So 21st of March, 1987, I was there in the court and I'm thinking, someone's going to rescue me. Someone's going to rescue me, And I went there and to my alarming bells, basically, we was asked that, but we was sitting together. My husband-to-be and myself, we were sitting together when they said, have you got any objections to getting married? And I thought, I can't say no in front of him. And it was just, I guess, it just flowed through. So I asked the society that, if something like that is put in place, it stops people from going into something that they don't want to go into. So yeah, that was one hope. But
so I mean, if we can come back to that after if you want. I'm just like, so this is like the first trauma. I mean, you were talking about your mother saying like that you were ugly and you would never be able to find a husband.
Yeah.
So you think that's one of the main traumas that made you accepting things and put you in like difficult situations
abusive
and
relationships, yes.
Okay.
I went into abusive relationships, including my marriage and another one after that. I went in very abusive. It was because I had less, I thought less of myself, so I wanted to give more. And when I started my healing process, this was the first thing that I had to deal with. Why do I keep going into abusive relationships and accept for men to treat me in this way? And when I came to realization that, these were words that were said to me by my own mum, at first, you feel pain, anger. How could a mother say that to you? But when I look at it in a different perspective, I see my mum was more scared than I was. She was more scared because she was living from an imprint or something that was embedded well before our time. It was yonks ago where the culture or the society said, if you're dark, you're ugly, and my mum was more fearful, if in fact more than like being angry at me or being not nice to me.
Yeah, it wasn't like being mean. It was just she was scared that you wouldn't be able to find a husband and fit in the society.
Yeah, and to fit in because if I didn't, then my family would be outcasted. You see, so this is where I feel that the cultural and religion bindings really need to be kind of how can I say it?
To evolve?
To revolve first. We need to go to the roots of it. When we get to the roots of it, of why we do what we do or say what we say, then we can heal that imprint and start kind of taking away this judgments and allowing people to control in the way that we treat our own children. No mother would have the heart to say that to her daughter because she feels pure love. But apart from that, it's the fear of the society that puts that person in a state where they're speaking out what the society wants them to say, not what their heart wants to say.
Of course.
That's my view. So yeah, for instance, my mum, I don't blame her at all. Not one bit. I see my growth now. I see what I had to go through, but what I'm trying to do is now make the public aware that not all of us have to go through that, of the deep journey. I mean, I've taken about 4 or 5 years on my own, with hardly any kind of engagement with the society. So I just cut myself off completely from everyone. So forgive me, my friends and family, if I cut you off, but I needed to find myself. And having found myself, I feel like I have a new lease of life. And now I wish to share my experience so that not everyone has to go through this anger and frustration, because by sharing different perspectives and wisdom of other people's behaviors, it kind of takes away that anger. So when we cut away from the anger, we can observe that situation. And when we observe it, we will see that there is no malice in it. There's no malice. It's just someone trying to say that to me. And for me, it was also a realization that obviously where I was told I was dark and ugly, it's something that I took on in me. I took on in me, so I allowed the men to treat me like I was nothing. Because it was stated that I'd have to work hard. So I worked 16, 18 hours a day to be able to provide for a man who was abusive towards me. Because that's what was the message that came across in my view, was holding in my body, you know. But when I let go of that message to say, no, I don't have to, I can work 50-50, you know, I can have a relationship where everything is 50-50. I go to work, they go to work, and you have a leveled and balanced relationship, you know. So yeah, that took a lot. I mean, there's a lot of internal work involved in it, and hence the reason I completely ignored paying my mortgage, paying my bills. I sacrificed everything because if I didn't, I would be in a wheelchair. Yeah, and now that I've sacrificed everything, I have a new lease of life.
Bravo.